All right, we are live. So Ethereum is about to undergo a major network upgrade next week. That's critical that you have to understand if you're paying attention to this space, because it's going to suggest when Ethereum 2.0, the merge, might arrive. Okay, I'm going to talk about this video, why it's so important, and what you need to understand. So if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory, and on this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something you're interested in, then smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you want to learn how to master blockchain step-by-step start to finish, then definitely head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp to get started today. And the blockchain bootcamp is the best way, or the fastest way, I should say, to change your career and break into the blockchain industry. We have the new blockchain bootcamp version 2.0 launch happening on Thursday, July 14th. So make sure you go hold your spot for the special launch event. All right, so we got people jumping in the chat here. We've got technically Angela, Robert, Bruno, Automatic Beats, Grig, Rodrigo, Ayush, Oscar. Let's see here. Theek, I hope I'm saying that right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, so let's jump into this. Let's talk about this major update that's going to happen to Ethereum next week and what it means for this entire space, because it's pretty critical for the Ethereum 2.0 merge that's supposed to happen later this year. It's actually going to give us some insight into this. So I want to talk about this in the live stream this week. I'm probably going to set aside, make a dedicated video about this next week when this is going to happen to talk about it more in depth. But I want to go ahead and give you a heads up today because you need to be watching out for this. So let's kind of set the stage for this. So basically, Ethereum is on this multi-phase roadmap of moving from Ethereum 1.0 to Ethereum 2.0. So you've got, Ethereum right now, if you're using it today, using MetaMask, you're using the blockchain, you're on ETH 1.0. But we're moving to ETH 2.0, okay? Right now, there's a separate blockchain called the Beacon Chain that was set up at the end of 2020 that runs proof of stake, because that's the next phase in the transition. Is we're getting away from miners, we're going to validators. So instead of mining cryptocurrency, you're going to stake it to the network to earn a passive income reward to validate transactions. And so the Beacon Chain is this thing over here that currently runs proof of stake. We're going to merge them together. That's the big merge event that everybody's super excited about. Now, there's been lots of speculation about when the merge is supposed to happen. I've been saying for a long time on this channel that I expect it to happen inside of 2022. We've kind of pushed back our expectations. At the beginning of the year, we're kind of thinking, hey, it might happen in the summer. But we just got some news that says, hey, this is probably not going to happen in the summer, but it does give us a hint into when it might happen, at least a window. So what is this and why is it important? So basically, Ethereum is about to undergo an update called Gray Glacier. Okay, so this is posted by Tim Biko. I'm not totally sure if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. If somebody wants to correct me in the chat, I'd be happy to get that right. But this is on the Ethereum official website. So basically, the Ethereum network will be undergoing a scheduled network upgrade at block 15.05000, which is expected to occur on Wednesday, June 29th, 2022. So that's 6 days from now, the time of recording this live stream. So what is it? Well, Gray Glacier, the Gray Glacier network upgrade changes the parameters of the Ice Age / difficulty bomb, pushing it back by 700,000 blocks, or roughly 100 days. Okay. So what does that mean? Why is it important? What does it mean for the Ethereum 2.0 merge? Well, like I was saying before, we're moving from proof of work to proof of stake. Whenever we move to Ethereum 2.0, we have this new blockchain. It's not going to have miners anymore. It's going to have validators, or people who lock up their ether into a node in order to earn passive income reward to validate transactions. So basically, we have this thing that's been programmed into the Ethereum into the Ethereum chain for a very long time, called the difficulty bomb, because moving to proof of stake has been Ethereum's vision from day one. Okay, Ethereum 2.0 has been the vision for Ethereum from day one. The whole goal is to get something out there that's working with Ethereum 1.0, kind of like a prototype, and then upgrade that over time. So this difficulty bomb is this mechanism that basically says, hey, whenever we eventually move to proof of stake, we don't really want the old chain to be run anymore, right? We want it to stop existing. So I'm looking up a chart here. We have this thing called a difficulty bomb that basically makes it really hard to mine the chain. So you can see this here. This is on Etherscan. This is the Ethereum network difficulty chart. So what is difficulty? Well, difficulty is just how hard it is to mine a new block. Okay. So this is expressed in terahashes, which you can see here. So what does that mean? Well, basically, proof of work, that's the consensus algorithm that blockchains use when they have miners. Okay. So what do miners do whenever they include new blocks into the blockchain? Well, they basically are trying to solve cryptographic puzzles and essentially guess a random number, and they run this through a hashing function. And the difficulty of that puzzle increases, okay? And so basically, which means you have to more sophisticated hardware, all type of stuff. But basically, the whole idea is we have this thing called a difficulty bomb, is we don't want the miners to run it anymore. So essentially, we have this thing called difficulty bomb. Whenever it goes off, it makes it like just exponentially harder for the chain to be mined, so that the mining incentives don't really work anymore. And the whole idea is to get everybody to switch over to the new thing, which is like proof of stake. Okay. So that's what the difficulty bomb is. And the difficulty bomb has been pushed back multiple times, but now we're seeing that the difficulty bomb has been pushed back by 700,000 blocks, or roughly 100 days. So what does that mean? Well, basically, that means that the expectations for now are that the merge will happen within the next 100 days of next Wednesday. Okay. So next Wednesday is June 29th. All right. So if you look at 700 days from June 29th, that's Friday, October 7th, 2022. Okay. So that, as of now, that looked to be the expectation of when the merge could happen, before Friday, October 7th, 2022. Now, if I had to guess, I would guess that we don't want to do a merge like on October 6th, right? Because if you need some time in order to make an adjustment, like let's say there's anything that needed to be fixed or changed based on the Ethereum 2.0 merge, you wouldn't want to have to then go back and push back the difficulty bomb. You want some time to sort that out, because you have to understand, like, even just moving the difficulty bomb is work in and of itself, and so that will probably delayed the actual merge timeline somewhat. But moving it back on something like this, once you're back up against that deadline, would be even worse. So, if I had to guess, okay, I would say that we're probably, a padding of a month before the expected difficulty bomb going off will be probably more likely. So, early September, could it be earlier than that? Possibly. Now, there's lots of other factors, okay? There's all the tests that have to happen before the merge happens. So we have to go through multiple practice runs on test networks and do lots of other implementation before we actually, do this thing for real. Because you have to understand, like, whenever you're doing something like this, you're taking two blockchains that both have billions of dollars of funds on them and pushing them together. Okay. And so you have to really make sure that everything goes smoothly. Okay. It's a very hard, challenging technical problem to solve. But I'm optimistic that it's going to go well. And part of doing that is making sure that, all your I's are dotted and all your T's are crossed. Think about it this way. Like, think about all the times we've had to do things like, put astronauts into space. Okay. Like the first time we had to do that, that was pretty scary, right? We did it successfully. This is a similar type of thing. It's a little bit different, right? Because we're talking about money, not human lives necessarily, but it's still, there's a lot at stake, but we have a lot of really smart people who with the right incentives, who are putting this together that, I think it's gonna go well. So let me know what y'all think down in the comment section below. Are we actually gonna merge before October 7th? Is it gonna get pushed back again? That is another possibility. If we have any technical issues, we could just see the difficulty bomb delayed, yet again. All right. But yeah, so that's an overview of what's going on here. Like I said, I will put out a dedicated video next week whenever this goes live. Because, I want to summarize it in a more succinct, concise format into a single YouTube video. But that's what you need to watch out for next week. And this is likely going to be on Wednesday. And it's going to point to most likely when the merge is going to happen as of now. Somebody says the proof of stake ETH will be worth $2. If proof of stake ETH is selling for $2, I will buy a lot of proof of stake ETH. Somebody says, can I join 2.0 no coding experience? Yes, you definitely can. So IBB says all his knows is if the merge doesn't happen by November, it won't happen until 2023. I could see that perspective where basically if we're pushing back against holidays, like nobody's going to want to merge around holidays. Let's see here. I'm trying to remember when the beacon chain launched. I'm pretty sure it was in November. Actually, it technically shipped on December 1st. Yeah, Ethereum beacon chain shipped on December 1st. I remember it was like, I was thinking it was like November, but I think it was officially on December 1st here. I remember when it went live. Somebody says, will proof of stake fix the congestion and the fee problems? So that's a great question. So this is one of the most common misconceptions about Ethereum 2.0. Like I understand most people's complaint about Ethereum is that it's too slow, it's too expensive to use. That's what this person's asking about. Will proof of stake fix the congestion and the fee issue? So the short answer is no, but the long answer is that's okay. We can fix that problem now. We don't need Ethereum 2.0 to fully ship or even for proof of stake to go live to get those benefits now. So the answer to that is essentially a layer 2 scaling solutions. So this is a second environment where you do transactions that, it's like a separate blockchain kind of that it piggybacks on top of Ethereum. And then, it uses Ethereum security. Depending on the type of solution, it essentially, can roll up transactions and batch them up and include them back on the Ethereum main chain, or at least the validity of those transactions. It just depends on what the solution is. Okay, so shorter answer is no. It's not going to fix the gas fee problems, but we have different solutions that you can use now that are getting better all the time. Somebody says a lot of ETH miners will definitely switch to Ethereum Classic, but can Ethereum Classic handle all that hash rate? That's a good question. Somebody says, what do I think about ETH contenders who are already proof of stake and don't have scaling issues? So I'd say, give me an example. You have to understand scaling issues also have to deal with utilization. There's a lot of people who won't have scaling issues simply because they don't have anywhere close to the same level of network activity that Ethereum does. Because you have to understand, Ethereum is super cheap, when nobody's doing transactions. If you had used Ethereum in early 2020 and DeFi summer, you could make super cheap transactions. Early DeFi summer when people were flipping Aave synthetic tokens, when we saw those early 100Xs, you could have made $1 million off of really low transaction fees. So, that's kind of the argument. It's you see a lot of these competitors that are, we already have this, we beat it, because people it doesn't have anywhere near the same transaction volume, so it's not facing the same scaling issues. And some of those chains essentially, what they do is they make compromises at the actual computer layer itself that runs the nodes. And so you have to understand some of those trade-offs essentially make it unwieldy to run those nodes, which compromises decentralization over time. Because let's just say, here's the thing you have to understand. You could take Ethereum, all right, and then copy it, okay, and then basically just change some settings in the client software. Geth is one of the most popular Ethereum Ethereum nodes software. That's what a client is. Basically, blockchain's a peer-to-peer network of nodes that all talk to one another. And then when you run a node, you run software, and that software, helps you collectively run the Ethereum virtual machine. Okay, so you could basically create your own copy of Ethereum and say, you know what, these guys don't know what they're talking about. We're gonna just dial up some settings and make this sucker scale. It's it's like getting a golf cart and cutting the governor so you can go, 50 miles an hour in it when it's only supposed to go 15 miles an hour? Well, there's a reason it's only supposed to go 15 miles an hour. Same thing with the Ethereum node. You could take it and then just like cut the governor and say, you know, we're going to increase the block limit. We're just going to start shoving transactions in here as fast as we possibly can. Okay. That will help it scale. You could 10x the scalability of Ethereum that way. But the problem is the node is going to get so big, so fast, oftentimes with worthless transactions, that bots are just going to spam like crazy. And then you have this massive like state size that a normal person's not going to be able to run, or like not just normal people, but a lot of people can't run. So what that's going to do is basically consolidate node operations to a really small number of people who have not always the best incentive in mind, or at least it precludes certain people with a different set of incentives from helping maintain the blockchain, which reduces the decentralization of the actual thing itself. And then at some point you just have like a consortium of centralized nodes that aren't really, that kind of defeats the purpose. So that's the road that you can go down to, you know, create a very compromised blockchain scaling solution. That's kind of the opposite of what Ethereum has done. So Ethereum is trying to be maximally decentralized at the base layer. All right. We don't want to just dial up the scaling just because we can. We want to maintain decentralization. That's the whole idea of the scalability trilemma. You have three things that are at odds with one another: decentralization, security, and scalability. Okay. And so you can sacrifice one of those things in favor of another. But that's not always the best trade-off. The goal is to get the best trade-off you can get. And sort of Ethereum's vision is to try to, you know, keep the best we can at the base layer and then build extra layers on top of it. It's sort of the idea of a modular blockchain future. Okay. So now we will get some scalability benefits with sharding, sharding, down the road, but that's not really going to happen soon. Because you have to understand, like, if let's say you got a 2x benefit out of sharding, well, okay, so that's gonna make it faster. But if you have rollups that are going onto the chain, that's just gonna double the scalability of those rollups, which is huge. So let's say you're getting, you know, I don't know, let's just throw out a number out there. So let's say you get 100,000 transactions per second on a really fast dialed up rollup. Like let's say they get that good, okay, then you just double that performance. Okay, now that's a ways off. I'm not saying that's going to happen like tomorrow. There's a lot of technical problems that have to get solved in order to achieve something like that. Okay, but that's the future. So what's going on with Solana? Well, let's just check the Solana status page. So looks mostly green. Boy, I've seen some Solana outages recently. Okay, let's see here. So I'm trying to understand this comment. Fees won't change, and you can still can't withdraw. ETH2 is not merged as planned. It's a rush job to get proof of stake with no real user benefits. No, not really. I mean, so we're not going to be able to withdraw the staked ETH immediately after the merge. That's true. But yeah, there definitely is, you know, user benefit in terms of staking ETH the asset itself. So initially, I mean, you won't be able to have liquid staking. That's true, but that doesn't mean that your real user benefit's not, you know, right around the corner. The other thing is, you know, there's the narrative of, you know, proof of work consuming too much energy and that, you know, being an environmental concern. So at a minimum, switching your proof of stake basically makes that argument null and void for Ethereum. So Solend, I still haven't seen enough about Solend to really speak on it. Is leverage trading the cancer of markets? Well, I don't leverage trade, and I don't like to give financial advice in this channel, but I'm okay with telling people to be cautious. I don't think vast majority of people should be leverage trading. I think a pretty good litmus test is if you don't know if you're a trader, then you're not. Okay. So basically, like unless you have a successful win rate at a trader and you know that and you can prove it, then you shouldn't be trading actively, and you shouldn't be using leverage. Now, if you're trying to get into trading, okay, you know what I mean. I'm talking about like people who are really trying to. I'm not talking about like just like flipping things on chain, like that. That's fine, right? What I'm talking about is somebody who's getting into, short term like TA and trying to catch moves and use leverage, all that type of stuff. Unless you know already, like it's probably not your thing. Now, I'm not talking about you want to go buy some NFTs and like do some speculation there and like buy some alts and speculation there. I mean, I do that too, right? But that's not the bread and butter of my strategy. Okay. Definitely the bread and butter of my long-term strategy is focusing on blockchain development. Okay. Which is basically what I encourage everybody else to do, which is like the best way to make it in the crypto space is to have strong technical skills. Okay. And then that fixes your cash flow problem. Okay, which most people have. And then you can use that to whatever you want. I'm not telling you have to go buy cryptocurrency. I'm not suggesting that you buy cryptocurrency because that would be financial advice. But if that is a goal of yours, then, well, it's going to be a lot easier if you have good cash flow. So that fixes that problem. Okay. And then, but at the end of the day, like, I'm just telling you what I would personally do. Like buying and holding for long term is what I personally do with most of what I participate with in crypto. And then the smaller position size of that is speculation. And then, basically short-term stuff, but that like doing that with the whole stack and with leverage is a massive mistake in my opinion. So if leverage trading didn't exist, would that benefit price action or neutral effect? That's a good question. I mean, you have to understand that part of the volatility and explosiveness of crypto moves is because leverage exists in the first place. So, it would definitely change the dynamic of crypto for sure. So somebody's talking about the environmental argument. The YouTube like muted their comment because it's got profanity in it, but I'll edit out the profanity. It says, that's basically, BS. How much power does a global banking system? Strawman argument. Yeah, I totally get it. Like, I understand both sides of the environmental argument that like, I'm not taking a position necessarily on the environmental argument. What I'm saying is like people have a long list of reasons to hate crypto. Okay. And so even if their reasons are valid or not, if you can dismantle those arguments, that's a strong point for the tech. Like that just makes it stronger, right? So one big argument about crypto is that it's only used by, it's used by, not only necessarily, but it's widely used by criminals, for nefarious activity, to try to do things off grid, not pay your taxes, all that type of stuff, right? So the counter argument to that is So is green cash. Okay, so green cash is one of the things that's widely used by criminals. It's widely used for tax evasion, money laundering, all this type of stuff, right? So crypto, like if you're trying to say get rid of this crypto thing because of that, like then what are you gonna say about cash? So the same type of thing is like if you're talking about an environmental issue, like you could go back and forth about whether that's a valid argument or not, or you could just circumvent it entirely and say, well, we don't have that problem anymore because Ethereum's on proof of stake. That's what I mean by that, right? Part of it's just completely invalidating people's criticisms, you know, whether the criticisms are valid or not. So what's my favorite layer 2 solution and where should we watch for these? That's a good question. So, you know, I'm not going to like be tribal and like take sides right now on layer 2s. But, you know, you can definitely go to ltb.com. I can tell you ones that I'm definitely watching like a hawk, okay? So definitely watching Optimism, Arbitrum as the two leaders in the optimistic rollup space, okay? The ZK rollups, I'm definitely watching ZK Sync, all right? So, you know, optimistic rollups are some of the earliest to roll out there, but ZK rollups a little farther behind in their implementations, I would say, because they rely upon, you know, I would say more challenging solutions to actually implement over time, which is basically doing things, proving things with cryptography. That's a little harder of a nut to crack, in my opinion, than what optimistic rollups have done. Okay. So I think it's going to take some time for all these ecosystems to mature, but those are the ones I keep my eye on for sure. I'm not going to take sides and pick clear favorites yet. I mean, ultimately the market's going to decide, and I'm going to watch out for that in real time. Like for me, it doesn't really make sense to sit here and try to say, oh, this one's the clear winner, because, you know, it's sort of like trying to say like, trying to pick the winners in a horse race or cryptos, right? When you're talking about all these sort of long shot, contenders, right? Like, and I don't. It's hard to say whether it's going to be zero sum or not, right? I do think we will see a consolidation around a handful of these, or maybe even just one, right? That's kind of nature tends to work that way, where you have a concentration around, you know, one or a handful of winners. It's hard to say exactly how it's going to work. It's the same thing with blockchains, right? And smart contract platforms. We're probably going to see a consolidation around at least one, maybe a couple, right? It's like operating systems, right? How many operating systems are there on computers? Well, basically only 3. You know, basically only Windows, Mac, and Linux. And there's a bazillion Linux distributions, right? So you could, you know, but even within that Linux distribution, you know, subset, there's still a concentration around certain distributions over others, right? It's not like there's 1,000 equally used Linux distributions, right? Same thing with search engines. That's like search engines. You know, we are in a multi-search engine future, right? There's multiple search engines. You can use Google, DuckDuckGo, but vast majority of people use Google. All right, so you can see how those distributions play out in nature. Search engines Google has an overwhelming monopoly. Operating systems, it's a little bit more evenly distributed, but there's still only like 3 options, right? Part of that's because of the difficulty of creating the solution itself. You know, so. Yeah, I think the same thing stands to reason for blockchains, smart contract platforms, and, you know, layer rollups, right? Like Bitcoin's probably going to be a big leader for a long time, and then that's sort of a different category from smart contract platforms, in my opinion. ETH has a huge head start. I mean, my bet is that it maintains category leader in that space. Now, that doesn't mean we can't have a strong contender or two behind it, right? We don't know how that's going to play out. I mean, I expect Ethereum to maintain a majority, but even if it ends up not being a total majority, it still, you know, can be the biggest, all right? And who knows, maybe the second biggest is EVM compatible. I don't know. You know, it's really hard to say. And then going on to layer 2s on top of that, you know, layer 2s could follow a similar distribution. Maybe it's 1 gets a massive market share. Maybe 2 get a significant. You see what I'm saying? It's really hard to say. But what I don't expect, here's what I don't expect, and this is what I think a lot of people have a misconception about in crypto, is that everybody's going to share this nice equal distribution. Like we're going to have, 100 different blockchains, and they're all going to share 1% distribution across the board. Like that's not going to happen. And that's kind of like some, bag holder cope or hopium to say that my coin's going to prosper just like this other one. And I don't think it's going to happen. All right. So, great questions, everybody. Definitely check out for the big Ethereum update that's going to happen next week. I think that's some big breadcrumbs on when we'll likely see an Ethereum 2.0 merge. Again, I'm super excited about this. So, as always, smash the like button down below. And, in case you missed my announcement earlier this week, the Blockchain Bootcamp 2.0 is launching on Thursday, July 14th. So make sure you hold your spot for the special launch event. I'm super excited about this. Definitely don't want to miss this. All right. So that's all I've got. Until next time, thanks for watching.